One Piece live action is finally here! This is a series that before it was even announced, people were heralding it as the second coming of Death Note live action. Not good, in other words. I mean, I could forgive someone for thinking that there is no way that Eiichiro Oda's legendary manga series, a series about a man made out of rubber, could ever break the live action curse. But my friends, based on first impressions, it seems that One Piece live action has indeed broken the curse of live action anime adaptations. While not perfect, the series has amazing attention to detail. There are countless examples of this, like the real life recreation of iconic ships in the series like the Going Merry, all of the outfits taken from actual cover stories and chapters of the manga, and anime to even promotional material referencing manga spreads. To put it simply, One Piece live action is a love letter to the legendary Japanese IP, and it's clear that from the creatives in the room, all the way to the cameramen on set, that they wanted to break the live action curse that One Piece faced. Even the cast put in a ton of work. For example, Emily Rudd has been a lifelong One Piece fan since she was a kid and always dreamed of playing Nami, and she got her wish. Even the role of Sanji, played by Taz Skylar, was in amazing hands as he would wear his costume in and out of set and cook the entire crew meals to learn how to move in the suit and have authentic movements to what a real-life chef of Sanji's caliber would have. I could name more examples. For example, like Eiichiro Oda hand-picking the cast, especially Iñaki Godoy, who was told straight to his face by Oda that he is and forever will be Luffy in his eyes. Something that clearly moved Iñaki immensely as we see here. But speaking of Oda, another great omen is with Oda. It's not like he was hands-off or treated like Shinichiro Watanabe on the set of Cowboy Bebop, who infamously had all of his input ignored. On the set of One Piece live action, it was common that if Oda didn't like it, or if he saw a scene later on that he didn't like, they had to reshoot it with his input and changes. Needless to say, One Piece live action is seemingly in loving and caring hands. Even the writer Matt Owens talks about how he felt he was the only one in the world that could do this One Piece live action, which, if you didn't know, he as well is a lifelong fan of the manga and anime, seeing it when he was a kid and ever since becoming a huge fan. It seems that whatever kind of promotional material or otherwise that has been released for this live action, everyone involved with this live action tried their absolute best in their roles to do their parts and bring this wonderful series alive, trying to capture the magic of the wonderfully fun and lighthearted adventures of the Straw Hats and translating that in a faithful way while still making changes for live action that would be suitable for Netflix audiences. So without further ado, this is my first impressions on the One Piece live action series. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, we're about to find out, for better or for worse. So, if you haven't, drop a like and subscribe. We're nearing 69k subscribers, so if everyone watching this video subscribe, well, we get there in no time. Do it for the funny number. Let's get into it. Okay, so there is quite a bit to break down with this episode. After all, it is about an hour in length, give or take. But to give you the gist, it's very familiar for One Piece fans while also new in terms of presentation, changing mostly just the setting of some of the series' most iconic scenes. First of all, I love the narration. It's very fitting for One Piece, and the person that got to do it was really good. As for Gold Roger's iconic execution sequence, as a One Piece fan, this was honestly done really well. The first thing I noticed is that the outfits, which people complained about in the trailer, don't seem to actually be too much of a problem here. This is a theme that I actually noticed throughout the episode. I felt the trailer did overall justice for the series, but in smaller ways and details like the outfits and the CGI, it didn't do the series enough justice. I think these elements in particular are better than what was shown in the trailer, which is a massive bonus. Gold Roger in particular looking really good in this first scene along with Garb, which I was surprised to find. If you're a new fan, I won't spoil you on One Piece throughout this video, but the manga has these canon events and stories called cover stories, which are one image with no text and only a title. They're at the beginning of each chapter and are very important for the story. I am nearly 300 chapters into One Piece, and Garp has only been shown in those cover stories for the manga, making my first real interactions with this character actually in this live action. So, it is very surprising to see him here. Roger's death as well was just done really good. Pretty much perfect. and I love the shot of Garp looking on at the chaos he's caused in his final words. And I will admit, though, a small nitpick is that the scene felt a little weirdly paced for the masses below. Upon hearing Roger's words, they immediately jumped to action. I felt it would have been better to see them stirring and digesting his words a little bit more, and then they react. Because it just felt weird, them immediately hearing it and just immediately running. It's actually this kind of issue which I think is a theme throughout this first episode. Feels like some of these small, insignificant moments, which are really well done overall, has these small pacing moments where it feels incongruent at times. But, like I said, this is a nitpick and a subjective assessment, not really a major criticism at all, and I can see definitely new fans of One Piece and old not really finding this an issue. We then see Iñaki Godoy's Luffy for the first time, which I actually think is a perfect casting, much like the rest of the cast in this first episode. Love the quip where he says mutiny, which I think shows off Luffy's attitude of being carefree and full of funny reactions that don't really ever seem to bother him at all, even at the gravest of times. Also, the details of this series are amazing, like the boat, which it overflows. You can kind of see shots of fish and fruit and other things Luffy would need to survive on the seas. It's a nice touch, and once again, the trailer did not do these small details enough justice. Everything feels worn in, whereas in the trailer, things look more pristine and like cosplay. We then see Luffy drift to Alvida's boat, which is in the midst of a battle, as we see Alvida's pink cannonballs that on impact explode into pink metallic particles. To put it simply, this is Alvida through and through, before we even see her mug. This is also the first hint of action in the series, and it set good expectations, as the action here and throughout is just really good, heavy-hitting, full of impact, and just all around solid. Felt like I was watching a Pirates film from Disney, but on a lower scale of production. Though another small nitpick that I eventually grew on by the end of the episode was the wanted posters and bounties. The graphics they plaster on the scene just didn't fit, and I feel like if this shows up multiple times an episode, then I will find it kind of annoying. But if it were me, I would have just preferred it being text off in the left-hand corner, but by the end of the episode, I saw that what they were going for, so I'll have to wait for judgment on how I feel about it throughout the rest of the series. Also, Alvida actually kills people, which is something of a change from the actual manga where not many people are actually shown to be killed. This happens with Zoro's scene as well, where he takes out Mr. 7 by cutting him in half. Which, speaking of, the fact that Baroque Works is mentioned throughout the episode, and we see our first number here, and he even dies, is really crazy to me. Feels like a bold but welcome move to introduce the threat of Baroque Works so early on, which if we're going by actual story canon, they should not realistically even be introduced until season 2 of the live action, not in season 1. Also, I want to give a shout out to Kobe's character, who had a nice spotlight in this episode. I really enjoyed his story of being afraid of Alvida, to growing to fight against her and her rule after meeting Luffy. This is the first of many examples where Luffy brings the best out of people, though I will admit that theme isn't as obvious in episode 1, and I hope that it will be in the future episodes. That is actually one of my favorite themes in One Piece, and why Luffy is so beloved by One Piece fans far and wide. He's a force of nature. Though I will also say there is another aspect where the pacing is really quick, as Kobe's story also feels somewhat rushed. But I think that's just my skewered memory of it, as admittedly, this is also rather short in the manga too, I think. A nice moment that I love is when first introduced to each other, I noticed how Kobe is scared of adventure, while Luffy embraces it, despite it being scary. That to me is a great story beat, especially for both of their characters. Also, speaking of Luffy, I just loved his casting and character in this episode. It 100% was Monkey D. Luffy with zero compromises. They do a great job building him up by having seamlessly transitioned to his past, which also kind of shocked me here. Just wow! They actually showed a kid stabbing himself in the face. I didn't think they would ever do that, even though it's an important moment to Luffy and his iconography. So, prop to the crew for actually going through with that scene, because that's something I thought they would just never do. Also, Shanks looks, acts, and talks like Shanks, and way better than what he was portrayed as in the trailer as well. So after seeing him in action, I am pretty much sold on his character. As for the action with Luffy though, it's pretty much awesome throughout. I also thought the CGI looked much better than what was shown in the trailers. From the scene where he gets shot and the bullet ricochets back, showing him impervious to bullets, how he is, and the scene where Luffy, Zoro, and Nami fight the Marines, though, really is just a true showcase of how good the CGI looks and how much the trailer didn't do a good enough job of representing that. As well, I love the line, "All great fighters call out their finishing moves," which I saw as shots fired to all of the live actions which have come before this and have failed utterly. This line shows that the writers truly get and understand the fans of the series. To me, this line really was saying, we're fans too, we get it, and this is for you and nobody else. Seriously, this line itself almost actually brought me to tears. And to me, I was just thinking, it's finally happening. We finally have a good anime live action. And to make it even better, Luffy even says his finishing move exactly like the Japanese version, showing the attention to small details by the writers. As for some small nitpicks though, I did think the devil fruit straight up looked like a pool toy, just a plastic styrofoam toy you'd see in a pool noodle than an actual devil fruit. But once again though, the complaint is small, and I think this shows that they got the details right where it matters, and for the smaller of details they could only get so far. But that's a good omen. It shows that where it matters the most, it landed it perfectly and only really messed up on small insignificant things. And really, honestly, they didn't mess it up here. But overall, I have no real complaints about Luffy. I feel as if some people seeing this for the first time will probably think Luffy's acting is bad or strange because they don't understand the character, as they haven't seen the anime or manga. And if you are one of those people, then just know that this is actually what Luffy is like in the original source material. This is 100% accurate and actually a good aspect about the live action. As for Zoro, I feel like I am more mixed on his acting more than anything else. His action scenes are honestly just phenomenal and pretty much perfect. His character is presented exactly as to how his character should be presented. His actor is the definition of also hunk as well, but the one thing I felt not totally sold on with the first episode was the acting. He just felt rather muted and flat, but once again, this is my first impressions from episode 1, not a full review quite yet. This very well could not be an issue in future episodes. As for what I liked, because I liked most everything about Zoro, his scene where he ate the rice ball is iconic, and I felt sort of sad it wasn't like the original, which happens where he's tied up in lacrosse, but I actually understand they probably didn't want to show Luffy feeding a dirt rice ball. It would have looked strange, so the change was, I think, an overall good one anyways. As well, every single action scene, regardless of who it is really well done, but Zoro's in particular is immaculate and pretty much perfect and fully representational to how Zoro is in the manga and anime. Much like Luffy, this is Zoro through and through with little to no compromises, if any at all. Also, his little feud with Helmeppo is funny, which I also thought they did perfectly as a character, and maybe even a little better than the manga and anime. I actually do think that the fan service scene for him was fully in line with Helmeppo, personally speaking. Also, wow. The scene where Zoro puts on the do-rag and then pulls the swords and puts them in his mouth, oh my god, chills. Absolute chills. As for Nami, what can I say? Zero compromises for her character. This is Nami. As well, this is another example of the trailer not doing Nami's actress any sort of justice. Emily Rudd is Nami through and through in this episode, and it really shows that she adores this character. Her introduction by fooling the pirates is straight up the same from the manga and anime, and it's amazing. As well, I think Emily Rudd did an amazing job with the action scenes. Her choreography was on point, and while not as good as Zoro or Luffy's action scenes, generally speaking, I was surprised to find she could hold her own quite well doing these really heated and complex action sequences. Also, does Nami not look like Hayley Williams in the live action? Just saying. I also love how Nami keeps rejecting Luffy throughout, how she says that they make a good team, which time and time again throughout the episode is proven right, only for Nami to reject him because, well, she hates pirates. Also pay attention to these moments, in particular what she says is her reasoning for being a thief. Nami's character in the original material is by far the best thing about the first arc, East Blue, and this is why Nami is such a popular and unforgettable character in One Piece to this day. Her role in East Blue was unforgettable and quite simply immaculate. Also as well, the ending to the episode, oh my god, the Buggy scene. Buggy is an amazing character, and this is another moment where I was almost brought to tears as they show Buggy pretty much in full regale, looking exactly like how he does in the manga, and being portrayed exactly how he is in the manga and the anime. Absolutely immaculate, absolutely amazing. Props to everyone to make that character what it is. Overall, I think the first episode of One Piece live action is a total and utter success. Nothing about this screamed rush, bad, or poorly written. In fact, it screams that Matt Owens knew exactly what he was doing when writing One Piece, and the actors as well knew exactly how to portray them. Think about it. The fact they have zero compromises to the original source. No shitty jokes about anime fans or One Piece fans or virgins. No stupid dialogue that insults the very foundation of the original series characters and even the author. No changes that befuddled the fans or insulted their intelligence. This is how Halo, Cowboy Bebop, Death Note, and FMA should have all been portrayed as. One Piece live action's first episode is an absolute love letter to the series and an amazing tribute to the fans of this legendary franchise. As a new fan who is covering One Piece arc by arc and is on Skypiea currently, this passes my check, even as a new One Piece fan. This very well could be, in my opinion, the greatest anime live action ever, and by a large margin at that as well. The fact they even reference to things like Bellamy and Foxy, who are characters that won't appear realistically until season 3 and beyond for the live action, is nothing short of amazing. Hell, they even kept the snail transponders and didn't even remove them. So, in my opinion, if you're new to One Piece or a longtime fan, One Piece live action needs to be watched, supported, and talked about. Commended for how well it is done. So, thank you, Matt Owens, thank you, Netflix, and thank you to all the crew and all of the cast for the work they've put into this series so far. You have done what many people have deemed to be impossible. But I want to ask you guys how you felt about One Piece's first episode. Did the live action live up to the hype? Is it another Death Note, or is this the live action to usher in a new era of anime live actions? Let me know in the comments below, and as well, let me know how you want to see me cover One Piece live action. Do you want it arc by arc, episode by episode, or just all in one big video? Let me know in the comments. So that's it. If you haven't, check out my review for Drum Island, which just went out today. It's a whopping 90 minutes in length, so I recommend it. As well, become a patron to get access to my Arabasta reviews, and as well an upcoming massive 90-minute Arabasta review. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.